Welcome to Mastering the Language Classroom, back to school tips for world language teachers. Welcome, everybody. If you are watching and you can hear me, let me know by letting me know what you teach. What grade level? Do you teach high school? Do you teach middle school, elementary? Let me know what language you teach and what grade level. So we are going to get started in just a few minutes. We have some really awesome tips for you guys. So make sure that you stick around and share this with any language teachers that you think of might be wanting some back to school tips. We have some really awesome things to share with you, including some time saving tips. So let us know in the comments if you can hear me, where you're watching from, what you teach, whether you are a Spanish teacher, French, or if you are a high school, elementary, etc. Okay, so I see a few comments. French, high school, you guys can hear me. Yay. Okay, awesome. Well, now that we made sure that's working, let me let you guys know about some really important things. We have a free workshop called Must Have AI Tech Tools for World Language Teachers. That is on the Tech for World Language Teachers blog, the registration page. I am also going to put it in the comments for you guys so that anybody who's interested in registering, you're gonna learn how to save at least 10 hours a week with the AI tech tools, and they're all free. So you're definitely gonna want to sign up for that. And then if you're not a member of our free Facebook group, make sure you come and join us. It's called the Tech for World Language Teachers Facebook group. After the live, come and join us. Make sure you stick around because we have some awesome tips. I've got Berta Delgadillo here tonight. And then we just did last week a workshop about Book Creator, ways to use Book Creator in your world language classroom. If you haven't watched that, you can find that on the Tech for World Language Teachers YouTube channel. And I am going to do a follow-up workshop for the Academy members. So that is Saturday the 19th at 10 a.m. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our back to school tips. And it looks like everybody can hear me. So I'm so excited because I got Berta Delgadillo here today, and she's an amazing Spanish teacher and presenter who just got Teacher of the Year. So she's going to let us tell us a little bit about that. And she has some amazing tips to share. So let's get her on. Hola,
Hola,
Berta.
¿qué tal, Rachel? Hola,
Hi.
everybody. So great to be here. And I am happily reporting that I am on week one. I already finished week one with students. I started last Thursday uh, and with the students. And so today is Thursday. It's been one full week with students. And it's about what, my second week and a half since reported back to work. So that's where I'm standing. And if you do not have, if we have not connected before, I teach in Savannah, Georgia, and I teach high school Spanish. So thank you, Rachel, for having me here today.
Oh, thank you so much. I can't wait. We were talking earlier, and you had some amazing tips. So I can't wait for you to get into and share those amazing tips with everybody. And if you have any questions, make sure you post them in the comments, and we will do a Q&A at the end.
Absolutely. Yes. Always, the Q&A is always so important. So please shower us with your questions at the end or throughout if you think about something, and we'll try to get to those.
And please share this with any language teacher. So all you have to do is hit the share button or tag your language teacher friends and let them know that we are live so they can get their questions asked in real time.
Yes. So I can share my presentation. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Share screen. It's been a while since I've been on StreamYard, so
I know it wasn't working for me at first. I was like, no, not again. No tech issues.
okay. You are able to see my screen just fine right now?
I am. Let us know in the comments if you guys can see. Let me get rid of the banner so you guys can see better. And let us know, do you want us right here on the side or do you want like full screen? Let us know in the comments what you prefer.
Okay, well, I have a couple of goals for today's chat. And Rachel, I mean, this is your space, so definitely feel free to come in whenever you want. But honestly, my goals tonight is to help you plan for an open house without stress. I know many people have not gone back to school, so I am assuming that most people are um, going to go back to school in the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, you probably would not be here. Let me know in the chat if you are gonna, how long until you go back to school, because I am going to share a few open house tips, but I know that there might be people who are about to go in the next couple of days. You already had open house and whatnot. So I will also share some tips about being proactive with classroom management. Just one tip on that, and time saving and troubleshooting tips, and of course, back to school in general. Our goal is today, my goal for us tonight is to make sure you go back to school with a routine that is effective and stress free. Because I remember the days where I used to be so stressed out about coming back. I was excited and I was stressed out. This year, very honest with you, I was not excited. I was not miserable either about going back, but I am a human being and I'm a teacher who loves her summer. And I was not excited, but at the same time, I was not overwhelmed. And that is because I have things in place that help me make sure that I don't go back super overwhelmed. And that's what I want to share with you today, because it's very important to understand that if you, and I'm going to go ahead and say this, if you rested your summer and you have nothing prepared and you haven't touched a thing, do not let guilt creep in, because you were supposed to enjoy your summer. That's what you were supposed to do. So if any educator is listening to me right now and they are already kind of feeling that guilt or maybe that stress because, oh, I didn't do anything over the summer, we weren't supposed to, okay? Like the I have learned to stick to my hours, and that is so important, to stick to our hours if we were gonna stay in this profession for longer. So that is key. And so I'm gonna go, because I know some people already did open house, but I will share some tips for open house right now. These are things that help me just walk into it. I could have open house on day one because I have pretty much everything I need ready. And these are things that save me time. So whenever, I know open houses are different at different schools. Some open houses, you have a bunch of parents coming at once. In my particular scenario, they're coming in and out. So I'm talking to about 2 or 3 families at a time, no more than that. And these are things that I have ready, so you can have on your classroom a picture slideshow of different things you do with your learners throughout the year. That way, when your parents come in, they can see that there's active learning and engagement happening in your classroom. And when you ask for something, like if you want to share an Amazon gift list, or if you want to ask for a sanitizer, and whatever it is we're going to ask our parents to buy, they're more likely to do it, because they can start seeing that we have interactive activities for the learners. Also, something else that we want to have in our open house, maybe if you use textbook, well, obviously have the textbook in their handy, because sometimes parents want to know what textbook do you use. In my case, I don't use textbooks, but I do use readers. So I like to have those readers in on the table so that parents can see the readers that I'm going to ask them to purchase for my learners in later on in the semester. So that's important. And I have a huge trifold with pictures also. So I have a slideshow happening in the background that they see, but I also have a trifold with pictures. And that's like the biggest thing when they come in. That's one of the first things they see. And usually their attention is more focused on the trifold than it is on the slideshow. So I am not saying that you have to have all of these elements, but these are some things to think about when you have your open house. In my case, since I teach high school, I don't have to have candy, although it's always nice to have candy. And some people have bottles of water and whatnot. I don't have any of that. And that's fine. I've been okay doing that. Something else that has saved me a ton of time is that last year I went to Canva and I made business cards for me at my school. I know some schools make business cards for teachers. In my school, that's not the case. But even if they did, I wanted my own personalized business card. The reason I wanted my business card is because I put the QR code to my website, and I'm not telling you to go home and make a website for you if you don't have one. uh, you can link a PDF that you make on Canva with specific links like the syllabus and things that classroom supplies and things like that. Or you can link a Google slideshow that has the key information that your parents are looking for on that open house. And these, my friends, is probably the best tip I can share for an open house. I invested on these business cards. I don't remember how much I paid for them. I think it was about $30, but I got about 500 of them. And I give them to my students and I give them to my parents. So if the printer fails the first week of school, if the printer is not working, I don't know if I'm the only school where that happens every year during the beginning of the school year, that we're out of ink, we're out of toner, or something happened with the printer that is not working. And
Every year without fail. You know?
just about. Um, so if that happens, I'm not stressing because I have my business cards, and all I got to tell my parents, scan the code and you're going to find all my information. And as a matter of fact, this code that you see right here, and we're going to share the presentation with you, you're going to be able to scan it and you're going to be able to see my website that I made for my parents. It's very basic. And again, I am not telling you to go get a website because you don't have to get a website. I just happen to build one because I like doing that. But if you don't have energy for that, a Google slide deck with the information and with the links, it's all you're going to need. And you know what? You don't
Yeah,
have
can
to
I
work.
jump in for a minute there? Because sorry to interrupt, but I highly recommend making a classroom website for, putting the information and the resources. It was a game changer for me. Saves me time, makeup work, resources, everything. So there are trainings inside of the academy if you want on how to create a classroom website. But yeah, you can create it with Canva, Wix, Google Sites, WordPress, all of the above fairly easily. So I agree with you. Recommend it.
Absolutely. So I made my website on Weebly. So this is in a different from the learning management system. And like you said, Rachel, it is a game changer because um, I have changed learning management systems 3 times in the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I have my website. That only changes when I want it to change. So I have my business cards, and again, if the printer fails, I have these. Something else that I like to include is how to pronounce my last name. So phonetically, how do you say it? And my direct information, and I give this to my parents. And I'm telling you, this last open house, twice that I gave my business card to my parents, one parent is like, "Now that's a teacher." And that was such a great compliment because I mean, I'm not like hunting for compliments, but it makes you stand out. It does make you.
Yeah. So professional, and another great point that you made also, Bertha, that you've changed learning management 3 times, and that's happened in my district also. And yet you have your classroom website, and it stays consistent. You don't have to like restart and go and load everything into the new learning management system. The other thing is that for me, because I've taught different populations, when I taught at Title I schools, there are technology barriers, and one of the things that would always come up was, oh, we couldn't log in and we couldn't get the makeup work, we couldn't do the assignment. Whereas if you have a website, there's no logging in. You can have the thing there, and it eliminates that extra barrier. So something really to consider. But great, so far, great points. I'm loving the business card. That is the most coolest, awesome business card I've ever seen. So I want one.
Thank you, thank you. So yes, and my website, I built it maybe 2 years ago or so, a little bit longer than that. And this year, it took me 10 seconds to update what I needed to update. So,
Mhm.
again, if you haven't considered doing a business card with a QR code to a website or to a slideshow, it will save you time in years to come. It will save you time in years to come. So I really, really want to share that with you. Another thing that I have is that I share with my parents is another QR code, and this one I just printed and I put it on a little frame, and they can scan my code, and it's a platform that is called Popple, and basically it creates a business card contact. So when the parent scans this, it saves my email, my website, my phone, of course the school phone, never in my life a personal phone, and my Amazon wish list, my donors choose, and my classroom YouTube or message for my parents. So I have these three things. They scan this code, and then they're gonna, this is gonna pop up, and it's gonna say save contact. Well, when they hit save contact, they can reach Miss Delgadillo anytime they want. Obviously, I'm not gonna answer after contracted hours, but they have my information right there, saved on their contacts. And
And that was so easy. Look at that.
yeah, it's super easy, and Popple is free. And I actually learned about Popple from my friend Meredith White. And I use it also at conferences because you can build different business cards. So I have this one that is for teaching in my school, and it's for my parents. It has all my school related information. They don't have, this is not my personal phone number or anything like that. Everything is school related. And then I have another one for my friends, like my friends and family, that has my actual phone number. And then I have another one for Profesora Delgadillo, which is my brand, separate from school. So I have three little business cards, and I can swap between them and share those contacts with people. But for school, this works wonders as well. And parents are always impressed when they scan your code and then they have all of that. If they go to my website, that's when they can get the supplies, they can get the syllabus and everything. And if you're wondering about a syllabus, I do have, if you go to my website, which you'll be able to because I'm sharing, I'm pulling the curtain and I'm letting you come with me to see what I share with my parents. And you're going to be able to see my syllabus. It's on my website. And if you want to use it for inspiration, by all means, you can, save yourself some time with that. And it is, you can see the full syllabus in my website. It is on my TPT store if you want to save time and you don't want to create your own. And so now that those are some simple tips for open house. And honestly, that's why I don't worry about it. Everybody else is trying to print the syllabus. Everybody else is fighting with the copier because the copier is not working. Everybody else is stressed out about the fact that the copier is not working, but not me, because I have my business cards. If all else fails, I have my business card and I have my little QR code so parents can reach me. And I have my pictures of my trifold that I change every so many years. And that is it. That's all I need for open house. And it's worked wonderfully. I started doing all of this right after COVID. So this is like, what, the third year or so? Um, and well, second year that I do this. But I started doing the trifold with pictures years ago. So this is great. This is great because I don't go back stressed out. At least not about this. I may be stressed out about other things, but not about this.
I love
Okay.
these tips so far. Let us
Thank
know in the comments. Are you loving these tips so far? There's more, very much, very good tips coming. So stick around till the end because you're gonna love what's coming in the end. I promise.
Yes. So, for I know we want to know. I don't know about other schools, but I know in my school there's this habit of starting school on a Wednesday or on a Thursday. We never start on a Monday, which is actually great. I'm not complaining because I am pre-planning Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then my students came in on Thursday and Friday, so I had 2 days, and those are the 2 days I needed to connect with them and to start building those relationships, which is the priority on day one. So maybe you're wondering, what should I do with my students? And I want to start by saying this. If you are a veteran teacher and you already love what you do with your students and it works for you, don't change a thing. Even if, unless you like my ideas and unless you have the energy to, make the changes, if what you've been doing has been working for you, don't change a thing. I was talking to Rachel earlier, and I was talking to a dear friend of mine. I'm not gonna say her name. I'm sure she wouldn't care, but my friend that I love so much, she's so creative. She's so creative, and she loves to make things beautiful. But she takes a long time to make things beautiful. And again, she's wonderfully creative. She loves to have the perfect syllabus at the beginning of the school year, every year. And every year she has to change something about her syllabus. And her syllabus is beautiful as it is. And I told her this year, please don't spend hours on your syllabus because your syllabus is amazing already. And I don't know if that's you. I don't know if this resonates with you, but please try to not spend time on things that don't need that time, because our time is valuable. And remember, the goal is to work our contracted hours for mental health, because other people need us outside, because we have an identity bigger than just an educator. And being an educator is wonderful, but our identity encompasses so much more than that. And it shouldn't only be in the summer that we remember we are human beings. So,
I love it. Yeah, it's such great tips, and setting those boundaries is so important because it's how you're going to prevent burnout, so that you can continue to be this amazing teacher to your students.
yes, and in order for to be your best self, you do have to guard your time, and you do have to connect with the other parts of you that are not a teacher. So I already have a few stacks of things that I want to grade for completion, not for like deep dive grading. But I left them at home. They're gonna get done tomorrow afternoon before I leave school, or maybe Monday at some point. But I'm not bringing it home because I cannot. I cannot. And I'm telling you, you don't want to be in a situation, and I speak this from experience, where your body is sending you all the bills of how you have not taken care of yourself. And I speak of this from experience. And that's why I always share about mental health. That's why I always share about protecting your time. And that's why I always like to share tips. So let's talk about day number one. What are some things you can do? Now, this idea, I received it originally from the creative language class by Kara Parker and Megan Smith. This was years ago that I started doing this routine when they first shared their podcast. I mean, their blog post. And so I want to give the credit where the credit's due. So they were talking about introducing yourself in a way that is comprehensible to the learner. So you're going to talk about yourself in a very basic way, and you're going to keep verbs that are frequent, like tiene or tengo, soy, etc., right? And you can say a lot by, tengo and soy. You can say a lot about you. You can talk about your age. You can talk about, if you have pets, if you have children, all of these things. So think about what you want your students to know. What do you think they're curious about? Okay. If we go first full force with the rules, and if we go first full force with the all these other things all at once, we are kind of not connecting. And what we want to do the first couple of days is connect. So students really are curious about you. So I've been doing this for years, way before COVID, that I started talking about me. And another reason why you want to talk about you is because in our language classes, the content revolves around our students. Everything we used to teach, or even regardless if it's a textbook that you're using, or if it's other materials that you're using, everything revolves around the learner. We're going to be asking pretty personal questions. How are you? It's a very personal question. Um, and there, who's in your family, or who makes up your family? That's a very personal question. So we want to keep that in mind. And the reason why we want to start by talking about ourselves is because we are being vulnerable, sharing first. Anytime you ask your learners to do something, whether that's to dance or to sing, you need to take the step and be vulnerable first as an educator. Students will respect you so much more for that, and the students will buy in to whatever it is you're presenting so much better if you show up vulnerable first. So what I do is I have a little slideshow that is going to take maybe 7 to 10 minutes, not longer than that. And I'm going to talk about me. I'm going to talk about what I like. I'm going to talk about who I am, where I'm from, my family. I will talk a little bit. So I talk about my husband and my son. And talking about my son is a pretty hot topic because my son actually goes to my school, and my students know my son. And then talking about my pet is super popular at school too, and and things like that, that connect me with the learners. If they have pets, they know I'm a dog lover. If they have dogs, like, we connect over those things and start building those connections on day one. And then, I have them guess how old I am. I cover my age and I tell them, my little sister is this old, my sister in the middle is this old. So do the math. We're 7 years apart. How old am I? And then I have them guessing about that, all in the target language. And after I talk about me, I do a comprehension check. It could be, true, thumbs up, false, thumbs down, something super simple, something that is going to be a success for our learners, because we're going to keep this presentation super simple, super comprehensible. If we are on level 2, we're still going to keep it super comprehensible. We cannot assume that just because they're coming to level 2, they should be novice high. So therefore, I'm going to start with this. No, let's start with this. Everything else you have to do can wait. So I totally recommend that you start with letting your students know who you are as a human and what you value. Something else that I share with them on the first day is that I take medication. I tell them that I have blood pressure problems. I mean, I'm not telling you to tell them that, to be that vulnerable. For me, it is comfortable to be that vulnerable with people, and I'm honestly just an open book in general. um, I tell my students that I recently got diagnosed with ADHD, which is true, and that journey has helped me understand my learners so much better as well, and serve them so much better. So it's up to you what you want to share with your learners, but this is building a connection with your learners. And then we play a Kahoot, we play a game kit, we play something like that. And you can do a small summary of what you said, and you'll start writing it on the board. So you'll say something like, um, the teacher's name is, okay, class, is the teacher's name Berta or Brenda? Or is the teacher's name, Miss Delgadillo or Miss Padilla? And then they're going to say, Miss Delgadillo. So you're going to write in the target language, the teacher's name is Miss Delgadillo. Okay. She is from, where is she from? Is she from Guatemala? Is she from Mexico? So you're asking the students, checking for comprehension. Are you writing on the board simple sentences of everything you just talked about? So very small paragraph, and you put it together. That is called write and discuss, and I will talk a little bit more about that. So I used to get started with routines and rules and everything under the book. I used to use the syllabus on day one. I give the syllabus on day one. I don't talk about the syllabus on day one. And I do send it home, and I do send it with a note for parents to sign, but I do not talk about it because 50% of the classes in my school, this number has gone down, which is great. I'm super happy with my colleagues, because my colleagues are also not starting with syllabus as much anymore, but there are still teachers who do. And when they come to your class, they're I start teaching on day one, and this is my first lesson. In all honesty, I want them to fully experience what it's going to be like to learn from me, because if I and my focus is to connect, and my focus is to make sure that my learners feel successful on day one. And that is going to make sure that the students can trust you, that you're going to guide them on a learning, on a positive learning experience. So I'm not going to lie to you. I used to have a syllabus that was 5 pages long. I used to go over every single part of that syllabus in my first 2 years of teaching. And I also used to have a presentation with all the rules and all this other stuff. And I used to make my students sit through that. And then, little by little, I started changing things. So I was doing all of that, and I thought that I needed to teach all the rules and routine the first week. No, you don't have to teach all the rules and all the routines the first week. I actually have found that when you teach the rules and routines gradually, the
Mhm.
students receive them so much better.
Yeah.
So maybe have a list of the routines and of the routines that are your go-to routines, and which ones are necessary the first couple of days of school. So that's one thing that I want to invite you, because sometimes what causes overwhelm is like, oh, what am I going to talk to them about this first day? So again, first day, talk about you. Maybe bring a routine. So the one routine that I do bring in day one is brain breaks, because we're going to have brain breaks. And again, brain breaks foster connections. And one thing I'm going to say about brain breaks is that for people who have 90-minute classes, that is so important. I have 90-minute classes. I see my students for a whole semester, 90 minutes every day. So we need brain breaks. And I try to bring a variety of brain breaks. I try to to have movement brain breaks. I like to have calm brain breaks, learning how to connect with our breath brain breaks, and all kinds of things. So if you are new to the brain breaks games, or if you want to compile all the brain break ideas, I am sharing 3 links with you. One is from La Maestra Loca, who is the queen of brain breaks. And another one is, this one is one of my favorites, by Carolina Gomez. And this one is about a calm down brain break. It has about 6 different brain breaks in one big video. You going once I you see this video right here, um, you're going to see this is for little children, yes, but your high schoolers will love it just as much. And it is about, it has 6 of them, and it has a lot of visuals. If you don't teach Spanish, if you're listening and you don't teach Spanish, you can still use this video. Just don't put the sound. You're the one that's going to narrate the moves, and they're going to be so simple. And then Senorita Spanish also has a slide deck with many instructions on how to do brain breaks, that I'm linking in here as well. So those are, I think, something that is very important to minimize the energy that we are using, because we're using too much mental energy, is that you want to have a folder where you have a slide deck with all your go-to brain breaks. So you're not thinking, what brain break? What brain break? No, you already know what brain break you're going to do, because you already have a folder or a slide deck that has all of those brain breaks. So all you got to do is just have it handy, and then just, pull it out when you need it. Uh, the name of the game is also, for you as a teacher, is minimizing your mental um, your mental weight, your mental, whatever is stressing you out mentally. How can you, what can I do? Ask yourself, what can I do to minimize that? Because that's important.
I love it so far. Can I jump in? And I just wanted to piggyback on something you said, and then I wanted to address somebody's question, if that's okay.
Mhm.
So, totally 100% agree with you. I used to have a lot of, and maybe this will help Angela's question, or Alejandra, it's Angela. Um, so, yeah, because building those connections and making yourself vulnerable, that really transformed my teaching. I do a growth mindset lesson very early on in the year, and I share about my vulnerabilities growing up and all that. I also try to share and empathize with the students, especially because most of my career I taught 90 minutes. And you and I talked about this earlier today. I mean, think about, they're going from class to class, and they're having to sit for an entire almost 8 hour day. And the only times they have a break is when they're transitioning to class and maybe at lunch. That's, for me, that I'm an adult, and that to me, it's torture. So imagine, them, and especially if they happen to have a condition like ADHD or whatever. So putting ourselves in our students' shoes and empathizing with them and connecting, making ourselves vulnerable, I think it's really important. Now, I do want, so hopefully that helps you answer your question, but I want you to, Berta, to answer, what are your thoughts? And she's asking, how soon do you go through a behavior contract?
Certainly, I will definitely address this question when I get to the contract part.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we're going to get to it. And those of you that are like, are we going to get this presentation? Yes, we're going to put this presentation in the comments at the end. Okay.
It's obviously I'm explaining things, and you're gonna see that the presentation, it's like 11 pages, but make sure you click on all the links and check out the links, and you'll find a lot of valuable information on the links as well.
Karen is asking, do you share with your students what you did over the summer on day one? Do you do it in Spanish? Do you have students share about their summer on day one?
I Okay, so I do that with my level threes, and not for like a particular reason, but in level threes, I do share instead of and this is because my level three students already know me, or at least 60% usually know me already. They had me for level two, and the other half had my other colleague. So for that reason, I don't do the same presentation for level three, and I change it up a little bit. Honestly, as long as you stay, you keep it as long as you keep the phrases basic and comprehensible for your learners, that they're gonna be able to understand and follow. You can do activities in the summer, but just be very specific and don't give them way too many words. Because remember, we want to make sure that the name of the game is on day one is connections, and making the students feel like it's a safe space and that they can learn from you. So if we give them way too much vocabulary on day one and we stop being comprehensible, then um, they're going to feel overwhelmed, and we don't want that on day one. Like, so but again, yes, you can do over the summer. You can talk about your summer. And again, with level three, I do focus on more on what I did in the summer, and we do activities about what they did in the summer as well.
Good. And Angela, I don't know, maybe you can post an example of what is a behavior example on day one. For me, what I have found is just kind of, you know, when I used to focus on the kid that was out of her seat or talking, or the ones that were talking, and instead of saying, please stop talking or please get in your seat, what I have found, or like, let's say they're not wearing their ID and they're supposed to, because that's one of the rules in our school. I would, instead of pointing out the person that's out of their seat or not wearing their ID, I'm like, oh my God, look at all of you wearing your ID, rock star, and oh, look at you. You guys got in your seat right away. And so I just make like an excessive big deal of the
Yeah.
ones that are doing the right thing. And they're like, I'm wearing my ID too. Look at me, look at my ID. And so that has worked really well for me, even with high school level kids.
Oh, that works with high schoolers. That is called positive narration. So you are talking, like you said, you're pointing out all the positives of what everybody's doing. I'll give you a perfect example. When I go into the classroom and the expectation is that they are doing their do now or bell ringer, whatever you want to call it. And if a few of them are not, 3 or 4 are not, I start saying, okay, thank you, Jake, and I say it in Spanish. And they know, okay, gracias, Jake. Jake trabaja en su actividad, en su tuna, en su hazlo ahora. That's what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
En su trabajo de hazlo ahora. Oh, gracias, Micah. Micah trabaja. Okay, so I just start narrating, and they're like, oh, okay, let me get on my game. So normally that's what happens. But again, because this has to do more with behavior, I'm going to address that in the next when I talk about contracts, behavior contracts. So we are moving on from day one, which is more about the teacher, to day two, which is more focused on the student. So I was vulnerable and I share about me on day one. Now I'm going to ask them to share about themselves. And what I do, I have this hexagon that you're going to see right here. And when we share the presentation, you are going to see, click in here where it says my free back to school hexagonal thinking community activity. You're going to be able to click in there and get this activity with all the instructions completely free delivered to your inbox. And basically, I have my learners answer 6 questions, right? But before they even answered, they're going to pick up the hexagon, and I have the questions, and I said, answer as many questions as you can on your own, and you can draw or you can write. So you can draw it or you can write it. And I also say, if you are not able, these instructions are in English. If you are not able to answer any particular question, leave it blank. So it's still a very safe activity because they can focus on what they know. They're going to be able to write their name. They're going to be able to write their birthday. They're going to be able to write about their favorite music, and maybe not this last one, and maybe not this one. These are the two that they're probably going to have trouble, but they're going to be able to tell me the other stuff. No problem. So they are working on that, and you can do this activity. I used to do it on day one. This year I changed it to day two, um, because I spend most of the time doing comprehension checks and games and brain breaks with the information about me. And that was, we ran out of time. And that's a 90-minute class. And we had a blast. So on day two, it was kind of like the same routine, right? I'm going to give them this, and they're going to write their answers on the different hexagons, on the different parts of the hexagon. So there's 6 parts, 7 if you include the middle, because that's question number 1. So that's the do now activity. When they come in, I hand them the hexagon, and they see the instructions on the board of what they're supposed to do. And then after that, I go over my agenda. I have a little agenda, and I'm sure many of you use agendas with your students, which is a slide that has your plan for the day. I found that having a slide and sharing that with the students daily allows them to build that competence. They're like, my teacher is prepared for me. If they see that you are prepared for them, more than likely they're not going to try to sabotage your class in any way, especially, they appreciate you, and if they if you have built a relationship with them. There are some students that are going to be challenging, okay, but I will address that in just a moment. So you give them the hexagon, and they're working and they're answering the hexagons, and then you're going to ask for a volunteer, and you're going to say, well, necesito un voluntario. They're very shy. If it's a brand new class, like in my level 2, it's so hard to find a volunteer because they're all new. They don't know each other. Many of them are freshmen who took Spanish 1 in middle school. So everybody doesn't know each other. But I always have a volunteer. But if I don't have a volunteer, I just pick somebody. I pick somebody, and I haven't had the student said no, So yeah, so you can pick somebody, and it's all about how you're going to say it. Um, and that's how I address this activity. So I had one student who volunteered to be the person, and now what I'm going to do is something called a special person interview. So initially, for the do now, they were going to answer the questions, right? They had 7 questions. The first one is, what's your name? When is your birthday? What is your favorite music? What's your favorite class? This year in Spanish, finish the phrase. This year in Spanish class, I will. And then dot, dot, dot. Favorite food. And what is your word of the semester or of the year? So those are questions I selected. You can change the questions to be whatever it is you want. If you don't like my questions, that is okay. And this activity you can use again in the future with other questions about other units. But this is a great activity to make connections. And the beautiful thing about it is that once they finish their hexagons, we connect all of them together. So everybody from the class is connected. And that is the principle of the activity, that we're all connected one way or another. So this student and this student are connected through history. This student and this student are connected through an August birthday. This student and this student are connected because they're focusing on peace. This student and this student are connected because they want to pass the class with an A. So at the end, I have about 28 students in one class, so at 28 connected hexagons. And I joke with them, and I said, if we are not connected, if we cannot connect everybody, that means it's bad luck for everybody this semester. And of course, it's just a joke, but but I do act like I'm stressed out that we're not connecting and whatnot. So again, what I'm going to do, I give them the hexagon. I give them like 5-7 minutes to try to answer the questions. I made it very clear that if they can't answer any question, they can leave it blank. Then I start my interview. I have slides for my interview. These are, you can't see the entire slide, but these are 3 examples of the 7 slides for my interview. So I do the interview, and the first question is, what is your name? And then I have they different phrases that they can use to say what answer my name is in Spanish. So like mi nombre es, soy, or me llamo. That's super easy question. Then for the other students, I'm sorry, for the next questions, for the other questions, I have what is your birthday? And if you can see, I have the sentence for them. Why? Why? Maybe you're wondering, why are you giving them everything? Because I want them to be successful and I want them to trust me when they come to the front. And what are we doing? The other students are listening to the answer by the student, but they're also recording their answers. So if they left this question blank, as I'm asking the one student of the interview, as I'm asking the questions of the interview, the other students are going to fill in the gaps of whatever questions they could not answer. So by the end of the interview, every student has their own beautiful hexagon done the way I want it. And what do we do after we finish the 7-question interview? We do a write and discuss. So I already explained to you what the write and discuss is. It's basically you do a summary in a very comprehensible form about what you just talked about. So on day 2, we talked about one student who answered all the 7 questions, and I write a summary. If you would like to learn more about write and discuss, I have linked 2 blogs in here that are great that explain about write and discuss. I personally learned how to do this by Mike Pito at a training, and it's amazing because I use it all year long. So Merce is asking, the interview is with the volunteer student only. Yes, I bring that student to the front of the class. I sit them on my special chair. I make the class clap for that one student, and then I ask the questions, and I tell the students that they have to respond in complete sentence. The one student has to respond in complete sentences, and they can not respond on complete sentences because they have everything they need to respond in a complete sentence. And I tell them that when I ask for the volunteer, I said, you are going to have everything you need to answer my question, even if you don't know all the words. And that takes the stress off. And then somebody that has had that has the confidence will say, okay, I volunteer. But if you don't have a volunteer, because sometimes I don't have, not for this particular activities, but for interviews later on, sometimes the students, they don't want to do an interview. I said, okay, clase, I'm asking for a volunteer. If we don't have volunteers, I'm selecting a victim. That's what I said, literally like that. Because, I joke around with my students a lot. So, voluntarios o víctimas. I learned that from another Spanish teacher. I don't know her name. Like I saw her present once for my district, and it was not a presentation for Spanish teachers, but I know she's a retired Spanish teacher, and she said voluntarios o víctimas, and I'm like, oh, I love that. I'm gonna use that, and that's what I use now. So I said, clase, voluntarios o víctimas, ¿cuáles? And then usually somebody does raise their hand because I make it a party in my class. When somebody raises their hand and say, clase, aplauso, aplauso, gracias, amigo, porque no hay víctimas, gracias, amigo. There's no victims thanks to Miko because he volunteered. So I make it such a big deal. And that's how we start building, community, class culture with our learners. And that's what I do day 1 and 2. So again, I don't have to stress out about back to school because this activity, I've been doing it for years. And then this activity, I've been doing it for now like 2 years. So it's great. It's great. And at the end, I give them time to relax and color their hexagon. I give them maybe 15 minutes to do it in the class. You can tell them to take it home and do it at home if you don't want to have them do it in the class. But I like to put some Spanish music while they are, just relaxing, coloring, and it's a really nice feeling, honestly. And then we connect all the hexagons together, and then I put the big like the huge hexagon collection that's connected. I put it outside my walls in my outside my classroom so that my principal can see it. And this year the English teacher decided to do hexagons too, so we have hexagons all over the school. Okay,
There's a few questions. So hold on. Does the student? Yeah, I missed it. There was another question and I missed it. But does the student use their answers from Hexagon, reads from it to answer your questions?
Okay, so no, the student is reading. Well, yes, they're not using their hexagon because I'm projecting the slide, which answers another question. What was, are the students seeing the slide? Yes. When I'm interviewing the student, the slides are projected for that one student and everybody else to see. And I'm pausing and I'm pointing. So if I'm saying, ¿cuándo es tu cumpleaños? ¿Cuándo es tu cumpleaños? And then the student answers, mi cumpleaños es el 5 de septiembre. Okay, that's what the student will answer in that, like, super slow, right? And then I'm going to say, oh, 5 de septiembre. And I'm going to look around the room like this and I'm going to say, tengo otros estudiantes de septiembre con cumpleaños en septiembre. Even slower than that. And then they're going to raise their hand. Some of them are going to raise their hand that they're also September babies. And then we start making connections like that. And then I'll say, mi cumpleaños clase, because I told them when my birthday was the day before. So, ¿cuándo es mi cumpleaños? ¿En septiembre? And they're going to say, no en septiembre, en octubre, or whatever, right? So I try to build the connections. And again, this is being projected. So it's projected to the whole class. And in front of it, I have the one student on my special chair who's able to see that slide very clearly. And I go one question at a time. One question at a time. If that answers the question, because I think that those were the questions that we were getting. So the questions are displayed on a slide, yes. The interview is the one volunteer student only. However, the rest of the students, as I'm interviewing the student, they are listening because there's going to be a blue kit or a GIMP kit or a Kahoot later on this information. So they have to listen. And then they're also answering their own hexagons with their own answers. So by the time I'm done with the interview, everybody's finished with their own hexagon. So that's why later on I give them time to color it, decorate it, and then we make all the connections. So that's all day 2 in a nutshell. And I have a question about kids fill questions ahead of time or just one. Okay, so I said earlier that I give them the hexagon at the beginning and I have the instructions with all the 7 questions. And I said, answer as many as you can with pictures or with words. And if you don't know how to answer in any, leave in blank. So those are the instructions initially. And then I also said, by the end of the class, you'll be able to answer all the questions. That is my promise to them. And yes, we fulfill it because everybody's able to answer all the questions at the end. And the 7 interview questions are the same as on the hexagon. That is correct. Yes, that is correct. Okay, so you will see, and let me see if I can bring it over here because that will be a better visually for you. So that I can share this with you. So I'm going to exit a little bit from this one. Let me know if you can see this one that says drive. Can you see this one that says drive and says terms of use? So yes, I think we can see it. Okay, so this is, again, if you go to that link, I share everything with you, even more than that. So here is what my students can see. They see this hexagon with all of these questions. And then I have instructions on a slide that tells them, okay, if you can't answer it, don't worry about it. Later, you'll be able to answer them. And here's my example. And then, so those are instructions if you want to have instructions, but I don't print the instructions. I have my instructions on the slide. I try to save as much paper as I can. Here's the hexagons. If you have a class of 30 students, you make 15 or maybe 20 because some of them will mess it up, and that's okay. Don't panic. And then here are more activities that you can do with this that I'm not going to go into, but definitely you have that in there as well. And I have a friend who is working on translating this to French, and I will add them to the same folder that where you're going to get this. So, yep. That's kind of how you see it. And yes, we are going to be sharing the link. So on the next thing that I wanted to share, and now we can, in a moment, we'll be able to answer Angela's question. But again, for the hexagon activity, just click right here where it says my free back to school hexagonal thinking community activity. And so here is what I want to share about behavior, because it is, we're not going to sit here and pretend that all the students are going to be quiet all the time. All the students are going to be do what they're told. Some cases it is like that. We have that honeymoon phase, those first 2-3 weeks, right before we everybody starts showing their true colors. So we have that, and I haven't had, honestly, this, I'm on an end of week 1, we're still on honeymoon phase. I have one student who is very talkative, and I need to start addressing that with him, and I already kind of have thought of a way to address this with him. But other than that, no major issues. However, last academic year, first semester, I had a class where I had 5 students together that should never be put in a classroom together, because they enter like separate. They're wonderful people, but together they're not a good mixture. And so my first teaching assignment, because I started teaching back in 2013, and my first teaching assignment was at a school that was extremely challenging. I had parole officers come to my classroom to check on their students, on students. So in 6th grade, so it was challenging. And back in those times, I had to use a class contract that was per school type of best practice, right? That was shared by the schools. And then when I transferred to my school later on, 2 years later, I transferred to the school where I'm been at now for 8 years. I never needed a class contract until last year. Last year, that class was challenging me. I had a lot of disrespect from one particular student, but you know what? He made a turnaround. He made a turnaround pretty, a couple of weeks after, because the first thing that I did, I said, okay, I have to be proactive. What is happening with this class? So what was happening is that I was going over the rules, but I wasn't following through with consequences. And I was not letting my students know what the consequences were going to be. And and honestly, a lot of people call this old school. A lot of people may say, oh, this is not like a restorative practice and whatnot. But this is social emotional learning for sure, because we are building competencies about decision making. And we are talking about what does it take to have a successful class. Why do we have the rules in the class? What should be the rules of the class? So you can allow students to brainstorm rules. Some teachers like to do that. I personally prefer to have my rules, and then I have my students help and brainstorm, why is this rule important? Why should we do this? And then we have a discussion about that. Now, this particular part I do solely in English, because I want no questions about this. I want everybody to understand clearly what I mean by my rules. So I have very simple rules. I have this specific rules that you see right here: follow student code of conduct, respect for me, for you, and for everyone, support the flow of the language. That's making sure that we stay in the target language. When we are talking in the target language, listen with the intent to understand. Be positive, because as a teacher, we need that. And then also support everyone's learning acquisition journey. That means we don't make fun of somebody because they mispronounce something. It doesn't matter if they're in Spanish 3, we're not making fun of them. We are either recasting or we are either supporting. So so I have my classroom rules. We do activities. One activity that I like to do with students is we go again. We talk. I very briefly go over the rules, and then I break them into groups. And then if I have, let's say I have 10 groups, I'm gonna have this rules, and I'm gonna print one. I'm gonna write each rule on a index card. And then I'm going to, if I have 10 groups, so I only have this 6 rules. I have 3 other rules as well that are secret rules for me and my class. So I do have 9 rules. And then, so I have I will write each rule on a little index card, and I will share one index card with a group. And I tell them, nobody outside your group has to know what is on your index card. And I give them a couple of minutes to do a scenario, to do a little skit of them positively or negatively reflecting that rule. And then we as a class guess what rule it is that they're referring to. So that's kind of how I do my rules in a way that is interactive for them. And it's worked very well for me. So I also, after I talk about the rules, I talk about my commitment to those students, like what is my part as a teacher, what I'm telling you, this is how I'm committing myself to you. And then I talk to them about the consequences. So we make sure we understand why we have the rules, why this teacher selected these rules, why are these rules important to this particular class. And then also we're going to talk about what happens if a rule is broken. And then this is, in other words, this is how I'm going to take action, and I'm going to follow through with it. So for you as a teacher and for me as a teacher, it's great and wonderful because I mean, like I have my plan. It's, a behavior, like a behavior. How am I going to proceed with behavior? So I have these plans. So yes, I do talk about. Karen is asking, do you talk about the rules and norms on the day 3 of class? Yes, because day 1 and day 2, I'm not necessarily personally, I'm not having any issues because um, it's I mean, it's been very peaceful for me the first couple of days. um and even with that class that was challenging last year, they didn't start showing their true colors until after week 3 or 4. So I have never had a need to be specific with the classroom contract on the first couple of days. So I do it about day 3 or 4. Yes. And please remember, like I said, if what you do is already working for you, don't change a thing. Maybe adopt a new idea and try it if you feel like it. So my contract, you can find my contract in the TPT store and you can edit it. This is fully editable, and you can change the wording, but everything is listed there. And it's worked for me very, very well because I can pull the contract that the student and the parent sign, and I do collect that, and that is a grade because it's important to me. I give them a grade for it. And when I have to talk to a student, I said, okay, we're on step 1 right now. and, and or no, actually, usually when I talk to the student, we are on step 2. So that's when I ask the student to step out in the hall. This is a student that I might have told several times, might have said, okay, Anthony, I may point at rule number 2 that says respect for me, you, and everyone, because Anthony keeps talking and keeps talking, and I had to keeps interrupting me. So I may point at that rule, or I may stop myself. When students are talking, I just stop myself and I stop talking, and then that normally all eyes are on me, and then I can continue talking. And I may give a student a look if that is the student that is talking the most. But by the second time that this is an issue, this student is talking, I pull the student outside, and that's when I will say to the student, okay, we are now, actually we're on step 2. I'm having a private conversation with you, so do you understand what is happening? Do you know why I pulled you outside? They'll tell me. If they don't tell me, then I will explain to them what it is that I am observing. And then I said, well, if this, why is it that we shouldn't be doing this in class? And they know what they're doing. So normally they'll tell me, or and even if they don't want to tell me, they always, the truth always comes out, or what's going on, right? And then I said, okay, the next thing is going to be a phone call or an email, and it may happen today if this does not change. So just be ready to follow through, because honestly, if you go to my TPT store and you buy this class contract, you make your students sign it, but you don't follow through, might as well not have bought it. It is very important to follow through. That is the key. That is the key. Follow through with the consequences. So
And I put your TPT. For those of you that are asking, her link, check the comments. I just put it, and I also put her blog on there for you guys.
So Sarah is asking, when do you know when it's time to take a student outside to talk? Oftentimes when I do that, it causes my disruption. Okay, Sarah, when you have to act quickly, because the more you let it escalate, the more that student's gonna be pushing those buttons, and the more we're showing the class that this is an acceptable behavior. So we have to, if you redirected the student, like, okay, if I did one redirection a day, that's not bad. Let's say that my student Anthony was talking a lot on Wednesday, and I said, Anthony, and then he quit, and we're back. Today, he talked maybe 3 times. Okay, tomorrow, if this happens, I'm ready to take him out. And no, I'm not gonna be upset. I'm not gonna make a scene, nothing like that. But it's gonna be obvious that I'm asking the student to step out, and I'm gonna have a small conversation. And it does not matter that my class time is getting cut off. It does not matter. The reason why it doesn't matter is because if you don't do this right now, your class is going to get disrupted by Anthony so many other times during the upcoming weeks. And it is our job to protect the learning environment for everybody. And that's why, if you don't do it quick enough, it sends the message that we're letting this fly, and it's okay to do that. So then other students are going to start testing, and no. So I personally have not done this, but I have thought about it. And I have a friend who, in her class, I mean, she runs her class the way she wants. She's a math teacher, and when she pulls the students outside, she makes the students call the parent, and she makes the student tell the parent what is happening themselves. So, and she does not have any like huge issues with anybody. And people are not testing the waters in that class. Why? Why do they do it with us? Because we're nicer, but nice does not equal weak. So let's make sure we remember that. And it is important, again, it is important to, when we do a redirection, if they see our frustration, we don't want to show that frustration. We want to remain calm. So when I'm asking Anthony to come outside, I'm going to come to where he's sitting, and I'm going to say, let's talk for a few minutes outside, like that. I'm not going to be like, and maybe I'm not going to do it like right that second, but within 3 minutes of when it happened, I'm going to pull out Anthony outside, even if that means stopping my class, because otherwise I'm going to be stopping my class many, many, many more times in the future. So yes, let's not let this thing slide.
Sorry. One of my favorite things to do is to pull them outside and be like, "Are you okay? Is everything all right? You got
That's a great question.
I noticed that you kind of, is everything all right? Do you need a break? Do you need, that seems to work really well. And rather than like confronting them, be like, "Is everything okay? I know, and just kind of approaching it from a place of curiosity, that works really well. So some other, to piggyback on what Bertha was saying.
No, most definitely. And I think that's a great one, Rachel, not just with our students, just with people in general. When people are acting any specific strange way, it's important to say, are you okay? And that just kind of gets them thinking, thinking about their action. And one more thing that you just reminded me of, Rachel, that's when I talk to my students, normally during the first couple of days, I do mainly, I stay in the target language for most of the time, but the last 10-15 minutes I go to English mode, and I just kind of do more casual talk with them. And one thing that I do tell them is that if they are ever having a bad day, and I do this like on day 1 or 2, if you're ever having a bad day, you don't owe me any explanations as to what is happening, but you're welcome to tell me, Profe, I'm having a bad day. Please don't call on me. Please, I'm not going to be able to participate on brain breaks. I'm just having a bad day. And that way, I will honor that, and I will leave that student alone. and I'm not gonna be calling on the student. Of course, if that happens all the time, that's a problem. And I tell them that. I tell them that. And let me tell you, I've been doing this. And last year, I had students who would come and tell me that they were having a bad day or that they were not feeling great, and it was never abuse. They always felt like they could come and tell me, and it was never abuse. I never had an issue with anybody telling me that too many days so they could get out of work. And I think they honestly they value that a lot.
Yes, and for them, a bad day could be like their best friend is mad at them, and
Mhm.
and depending on what age level you teach, I know with my middle school level students, especially like if I was teaching sixth and seventh grade, I mean, it was like the end of the world, if it's a breakup with a girlfriend or a boyfriend. I mean, I can't tell you how many of my when I taught high school, how many of my boys I would see something was wrong, and I would be like, pull them out and be like, "Are you okay?" And they would instantly break down crying.
Oh,
So it's just their emotions are all over the place, and so yeah.
yes. Cindy's asking what levels I teach. I teach level 2, 3, and AP Spanish. But my AP Spanish class doesn't start until spring semester. So right now I'm teaching 2 and 3.
Till high school.
High school. Yes. Okay, so a couple more tips because I know we have exceeded time. But Rachel, I mean, you let me know when I can be cut off, but because I can talk forever. But
I want to get to. I want to obviously finish this, but I also want to get to the stuff we talked about that I was like stick till the end because it's gonna be good.
yes.
So
So I have some tips to help save cognitive energy. And cognitive energy is the one thing that will leave you feeling exhausted at the end of the day, where you have no mood for your loved ones at home, whether
mhm.
that's a pet or a husband or a child. And we want to save cognitive energy. And there are ways that we can do that in the classroom. So, like I said earlier, I gave you an example. If you do brain breaks, have all your brain breaks on a slide deck, on one slide deck, or on one folder where you can go and find all the brain breaks you need so that you have the instructions handy. Um, and and so another tip that I have is to increase participation. Have your learners' names handy at all times. So I'm waiting on my large popsicle sticks to get here, and those large popsicle sticks, I put my student's name in there. I have the most hideous handwriting, so I have a student that I asked her to write all the names of my students on those popsicle sticks. So I've ordered different colors of large thick popsicle sticks, and then I put like one class is gonna be purple, one class is gonna be yellow, and one class is gonna be orange. It doesn't matter. I just use the colors that I have, right? So, but everybody in that class is gonna be the same color. So I have them in a little bucket, something like this, and when I am ready to call students in the morning, like when they come in and they do their bell ringer or whatever, and I'm ready for volunteers, and there are no volunteers, then I pull the little popsicle sticks and I start calling on names. I start, and then they have to answer the question. I don't have a no. I'm not going to answer the question. What Sometimes when a student is not ready and I call on them and they don't have an answer, I said, okay, I'll come back to you. And then I go to like two, three more students, and then I come back to that student, and then that student has a response. But we cannot let the students opt out. Okay, so if you ever call on a student and the student says that they don't know the answer, or they don't have an answer, we always in the end come back to them, depending on what it is that we're asking, but we do not let them opt out of the work. So that's one thing that I don't have to think about. Am I going to have volunteers? No, I have these little sticks with me everywhere I'm walking as I'm teaching, because I'm going to call on different students. Otherwise, what's going to happen? What's going to happen. Um, you're going to have this few students who always know all the answers, yell out all the answers, and then everybody else is going to kind of fade in the background. And that's not what we want. We want everybody to participate, and we want to build their confidence that way. So that is one thing. And then the other things that I wanted to share with you is saving time with Chat GPT. And I'm not going to go deep into Chat GPT, but I do want to share some examples. So I'm going to be sharing. I'm going to go to different examples. So you can save time to ChatGPT. Let me know in the chat if you have already started using ChatGPT. Say yes or no. Let me know in the chat and say yes or no. Have you started using ChatGPT? If you haven't, this is what I suggest that you do to start using ChatGPT, which is a form of artificial intelligence. And that is create a folder with ready to use email templates for parents. You're saving cognitive energy that way. How stressful is it that, my student Anthony, right, the talker, uh, I have to send an email home and I have to type the email. Long gone are those days because now I have my folder where I have my ready to use templates made by ChatGPT to address things. So let me show you an example. Or this is example, it's an example I've done in the past. And for time's sakes, I'm using this example. So write an email for a parent to let them know their child did not complete their assignments during the class time because they did not use their time wisely. Okay, I wish I could just tell the parent your child did not complete the assignment because they didn't choose their time wisely, but that's obviously not professional wording. But and it's the end of the day and I have no energy, but ChatGPT is coming to the rescue. Now, this is way too formal for me. Like, I wanted to sound professional, but this is way too much. So let me fix it up a little bit. I don't have to start from scratch. So one ways you can use ChatGPT is to think about different communications you often send and just have them saved. Create a folder on Google, parent emails, and then save different templates for different messages you want to send parents. And not only bad ones. Maybe you want to send a good message to talk about how this student did this wonderful thing in class today. And then you write a really nice message. You can even tell ChatGPT, write it in a very enthusiastic tone, and it will do it on the tone that you want it to. It's pretty amazing. Also, my colleagues used to ask me to translate things for them all the time. I tell them that now use ChatGPT to do the translation, copy the translation, paste it on a Word doc, on a Google Doc, share with me the Google Doc, and then I can look at the translation and just verify that it's done correctly. And most of the time it is, and it saves me time. And my colleagues love the fact that, I will never tell my students to do this, but my colleagues, yes, I am going to tell them that they can use that. So there is that. So for speaking tests, how many times are you running out of energy? You have an idea for a test, but you're running out of energy. And then you want to create a rubric, but you're running out of energy. And that happens, right? Who has the time for that? So here's another example. I like to use raft assignments for speaking, which has to do with role, audience, format, and topic. And then I told it to create a raft speaking assignment for Spanish novice mid-language learners on the topic of school life. So here's the task that it created for me. Here are the details of what the student should include. And here is what else is telling me. And then here are some example prompts. But this teacher is too tired. And not only does she needs the assignment, but she also says, ChatGPT, can you please create the rubric to grade this assessment? Here's the rubric that ChatGPT created for me. Is it perfect? No. Is the assignment perfect? No. But it is beyond a starting point. I can tweak all of this and I can save myself so much time. So, some people do have mixed feelings about ChatGPT. I have heard that, but you are still in charge. You're still in charge of what it is you're going to use. You do have to, look at your creations in ChatGPT with a critical eye because some of the stuff, maybe there may be issues with some of the things ChatGPT poses for you. I mean, if you go to ChatGPT, it will tell you that, they sometimes may have results with biases, and so you have to be aware of that. Create a RAF presentational speaking assessment for intermediate high Spanish learners on the topic of a healthy lifestyle. Here it is. Your role is that you're a health coach. Your audience is a group of young adults. Your format is a presentation. And here's the task, the introduction, and here's the rubric. But if I don't want it this way, I can tell ChatGPT to make it in a table form, and it will make it in a table form for me. So this is another way you can use it. And then the last way that I like to share, this is for my AP class, an example. I copied and pasted an article that I was using. I selected the article. So again, I'm still using, and I'm still driving. I'm in the driver's seat. ChatGPT is just my assistant. So I copied the article, I put it in here, and I said, create 10 multiple choice questions to prepare students for the AP Spanish Language and Culture exam for the following article. Here's the article. It created the questions for me. Okay, well, can you please create an answer key? Here's the answer key. That was not enough. Write 2 columns vocabulary list of keywords from the article. And here's the 2-column list with keywords from the article. And then write a glossary for uncommon vocabulary from the article with English translation. Here's the glossary. So that this is the support for learners, right? Create a fill in the blank activity with the article provided. Here it is, and give me the answer key. So in less than 5 minutes, I created a bunch of activities for my students, or like 2 activities for my students. And of course, but again, I'm still in the driver's seat. I decide how I'm going to present this content. I decide how I'm going to assess this content. I decide what stays and what leaves. So I just wanted to get you, if you haven't, if you haven't tried ChatGPT, honestly, look at it as an assistant. Don't trust it fully. I will say that. Always look, I mean, again, you are still the teacher, not, you still, your creativity is needed. We're not losing anything to ChatGPT. If anything, we're gaining time as a teacher. So the last thing I wanted to share with you, and then I'm gonna give it back to Rachel. Yes, ChatGPT does all of this in any language you ask it to. If you prompt it in whatever language, it will give you results in whatever language. So the last thing I wanted to share with you is something super cool that I found, and it's called goblin.tools.com, and you can use it for yourself, or you can use it to support your students. If you receive IEPs for students, sometimes it might be like provide a checklist, provide instructions, a step how to do instructions. So this is gonna blow your mind, because it blew my mind. So this is a website. It's called goblin.tools.com. And when you go to it, it's going to look like this. I already pasted a prompt. In Spanish, create a video about you using pictures, prompts, explore the resources provided by your teacher through this new unit. Your video must include different scenes and the following information, blah, 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 blah. And then use the 3 of the following expressions. Okay, so now I'm going to tell it how much breaking down do I need. So for that one student that needs the accommodation of having the step process, or the steps of how to do something, then how much breaking down do you need? Here it is. I'm going to tell it I need, most everything broken down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, here is what I asked it to, and now I'm going to have it break down items for me. And we are going to wait for the magic to happen here at some point. Here we go. So now what we have is a checklist of what needs to be done in order to do this activity. Now, if that is too much, we can go back and change it. We can do less. And then we can have it do less and edit. So I don't want that. So I'm going to delete that, remove. I'm going to put the prompt in there. Now I want less, because that was too overwhelming for me. Just as an example. So now I have less. So it creates checklists for you to do. So I really like this tool because personally, sometimes tasks can be overwhelming, even for us as adults, and it breaks it down so easily. So, Rachel, I don't know, we have any questions at this point that were not addressed?
All right, let's see if there are any questions. So there was a comment. I lost a comment, but somebody said they had mixed feelings about AI. Well, if you sign up for my free upcoming workshop, must have AI tech tools for world language teachers, and you see what I'm going to show you, yeah, I think your mixed feelings are going to turn into love, because when I show you how you can provide amazing interactive lessons in minutes for your students that are differentiated and they're interactive, and how you can save a minimum 10 hours a week planning, grading, all of that, then I think your feelings might change about AI. So make sure you can go to the Tech for World Language Teachers blog for that, or click the link that I put in the comments. So let me see if I missed any comments.
And I shared the link on the chat several times to the presentation.
Can you send it to me in the private chat? So, because I want to make sure that I put it up, because they think some of them said they couldn't open it. I'm also going to send it. If you're a part of my email community, I'm going to go ahead and share it, and I'm going to send it to you guys via the email, because that was amazing, wasn't it? So,
Oh,
okay, I got the link now. So I'm going to try sharing it with you guys in the comments. And then I'm also, if you signed up for the free workshop, you will get this. I'll send you guys this presentation. And I'm going to send you the video recording so you can go back and watch it and review it. And then you'll get the presentation as well.
yes.
And yeah, and then on August 24th, I think that's when I'm doing the free workshop about.
I'm gonna sign up for it anyway. Even though I was talking to Rachel, and I do use a lot of AI tools already to help me speed up my planning and help me differentiate better. That's a big one, Rachel. Differentiation and what it can do for you to
Mhm.
differentiate, to actually do it a way that is going to be rich for the students. So I want to invite you to Rachel's event because I do plan to be there unless something else comes up, because AI is something that I've been studying for a while now, and I think it is a blessing. Of course, it can be abused like anything else, but remember that when Google Translate first came into existence, that was the bad guy, that was everything, and there is a place for Google Translate.
Mhm.
There is a place for ChatGPT, and like I was telling Rachel earlier, people sometimes ask and wonder, well, the students are going to be cheating. Um, what are we asking the students to do in the classroom? When students use Google Translate or something like ChatGPT, let's ask ourselves, have we provided the necessary support? Because if the students feel supported and if the students feel they can do the activity, they're not going to go to Google Translate or just ChatGPT. And I mean that's a lesson I've learned over the years, because I had students who were using Google Translate in my first couple of years of teaching, and I know exactly why, and I know now why that does not happen. It's very rare when it happens. So
Yeah,
definitely.
we were talking about that earlier today. I was sharing that I used to have a lot of issues with cheating when I taught high school, my first 8 years of teaching. And then I used to be like, why did you cheat? And then when I changed my approach and I started to get curious about, well, why are they cheating? And I would pull the kid aside and be like, well, what's going on? And they would then share the pressure they were under from their parents, or they didn't have time to study because they had football practice, or they had to work, or the baby, they had to babysit their little sister or brother. And so I changed my approach and I started allowing test corrections and all, multiple attempts. And guess what? I stopped having issues with cheating. It's the same thing with AI. A lot of people are apprehensive, but instead of, the kid's going to cheat and whatever, yeah, possibly. But if we can transition and change our thinking, and how can we use AI to support our students, to enhance learning, to provide differentiation and also make our jobs easier, then that is what I think, we should do, because, whether we like it or not, education is changing.
Ever
And so,
changing, ever
yeah,
changing.
it's changing at such a rapid pace that if we don't adapt, we're going to get left behind, and our students are going to suffer from, as a result. So yes. So Rachel, if I may, how long have you been teaching? 19 years. So yeah, I'm in year 19. So I taught high school for 8 years. Then I taught online for 2. And then I went back to the classroom, and I share my story in my how to manage large classes, my classroom management horror story. I came into a middle school, and I was the
Middle
ninth
schools.
teacher hired. Okay, I came in the middle of the year in March, not even towards the end of the school year. They had a sub for the entire year, and it wasn't even a Spanish class. It was a writing class, an English writing class that they were going to transition the next year into a Spanish class. And they brought me in just because, anyway, it was a hot mess. They would throw things at me, curse me out. My then husband convinced me to quit on the second day. I went to tell my principal, hey, I'm sorry. I thought, or whatever. And then he literally got on his hands and knees and begged me not to quit. And the issue I was having is I didn't know their names. So, because I'm quick to call a parent, but I didn't know their names. I didn't, So we came up with a plan. I told the principal what my plan was. We implemented, and within 2 days, I went from kids that were cursing me out, throwing things at me, to they were under control, And then within 3 weeks, they were writing me love letters, telling me how much they loved me, that I was the best teacher, that I'm the only one who stayed through the year. I mean, that was such a learning experience. And from then the following year, I had class sizes of over 50 students per class. And so anyway, I was like, I need to figure this out. How do I provide differentiation? And I discovered that technology could help me do that. So that's how I started this community. I started sharing. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to tell my teacher friends about this. This is amazing. And that's how this community was born. And so that's what I do now. I just share these amazing strategies and resources that make our lives as teachers a little easier. And so I just want to say thank you guys, everybody. It's like 8:30,
I know.
and but that was so totally worth it. I mean, wasn't that amazing? Let us know in the comments. Did you love it? Did you get value out of that? I hope you did. I know I certainly did. Let me find. I don't know where I put your presentation. Hold on. Okay, here it is again. I want to share Beth's presentation one more time. I shared her TPT store already. I'm going to share it again. Let me find
Yes,
it.
and if you want to connect with me on Instagram and Facebook, I am there as Profesora Delgadillo. So you can find me Profesora Delgadillo in Instagram or Facebook as well.
So I put her TPT store, and did I put her blog yet? Okay, let me get your blog and put that there. Where did I put it? I got so many windows open. So yeah, I lost the blog. Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now. Hold on. I opened up a bunch of windows, and now I'm like, I don't know where anything is, But there it is. Okay, so there's the blog, and of course, if you want to sign up for the upcoming workshop about AI, if you want to learn how to save 10 hours or more a week, then make sure you sign up for my AI workshop, which is going to be in 14 days. It'll give you all the details when you sign up. But thank you so much, Beta. That was amazing. I'm so glad that you came on, and those were amazing tips. Let me see what some of the people are saying. Somebody said that was okay right here. Thank you very much. This is excellent. I know it was amazing.
Thank
Wonderful
you. Thank you so much
presentation.
for staying until the end. That's yeah, because
Janet said, "Me encantó." Oh, yay! So many great ideas. So see, now you're gonna be ahead of the game when you go into it. And guys, a lot of times I watch these presentations or I go attend and I'm like, oh my God, I have so many ideas. And then I get so overwhelmed and I'm like, where do I start? So pick one thing and focus on implementing that one thing and then go there. So when you're feeling overwhelmed, take a breath and then say, okay, I'm going to implement one thing. Okay. Same thing if you're trying different tech tools, pick one tool, try that, implement it, and then get comfortable and then, do another thing. Okay. So take it baby steps. So, yes, I love it. Good to hear from real teachers. Oh, yeah. And by the way, I now help my husband run a school for kids with drug and alcohol problems. And we get the kids that have been kicked out of the school system. We get the kids that the parole officers come to visit them. We get the kids with the ankle monitors. Okay. Those are our students. And so these strategies work even with these types of students. So, I've taught all kinds of students. My last school that I taught at, I had perfect students, no classroom management issues, wonderful supportive parents. It was great. None of that. And now I teach here where I gotta try some more strategies and so yeah, so I get no, I'm not in Georgia, I'm in Florida. Yeah, I'm in
We're
sunny
fairly
Florida.
close, so we're about what, an hour and a half away. So
Yeah.
I live in South Georgia. South Georgia.
You're in beautiful Savannah, Georgia, historic Savannah. I love
Yes.
Savannah. So, yes. So, oh, good. So,
Oh,
yes.
great, great. Wonderful to hear that.
Yeah, well, we're going to let you guys go because it's a school night and everybody needs to rest. But thank you so much for taking time to be with us on your evening. And we hope you got lots of value out of that. And, if you have any questions, if you're watching the replay, comment. We will try to go back and answer any questions that you have. This will be posted on the Tech for World Language Teachers YouTube channel. If you're a member of my email community, no worries. I'm going to send you the video and I'm going to send you Bertha's amazing presentation with all her wonderful ideas. And I will, it'll have all that. Your presentation has all your info, right? Your socials. If you just
No, I didn't put my social media information, but it has all the links to all the resources. If you want to connect with me, just find me as Profesora Delgadillo on Facebook or
okay.
Instagram.
But does it have the link to your blog though?
Yeah, I did share like a blog post.
Okay, good. All right, awesome. So I want to make sure that they're able to find you and all that. So, yay, thank you from Texas. Woohoo! Awesome. Well, thank you guys for spending the evening with us and go have a fantastic school year. Make sure you sign up for the upcoming workshop about the AI text tools, and we will see you next time. All right, thanks so much.
Adios.
Bye.